The Northtown News Magazine is brought to you in part by eVoter. eVoter is proud to be a sponsor of the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Marty Levinson, my friend, it's Scott Lee Cohn, and I want you to know, while I'm cutting the waste and corruption in Illinois, I'm going to be doing it with you in mind.
I'm Marty Levinson, and you're watching Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, please stay tuned for the Northtown News Magazine.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Meyers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hirsch and myself. Dial us up on the web at www.ntnm.org, where over 150,000 shows have been watched. Thank you so much. Community policing, we're real big on that. Go to caps24.org. Sonny Hirsch in his spare time is the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. Jewish Chicago is on the streets and all over the place. And, make sure, if you haven't picked up your copy yet, please pick it up. It's also available on the web. So we'll flash the website on the screen and you'll be able to check it out. And thank you again for your response. It's been very warming, and I can't thank you enough. It is a pleasure to present to you, and I don't want to jinx anything, but I think it's pretty safe to say the next president
Knock on wood.
of the Cook County Board, and somebody who will, I think, make a real difference. Toni Preckwinkle, how are you?
Good. Thank you very much for inviting me, Avi.
First of all, thank you, and I should call you Alderman Preckwinkle.
I am Alderman Preckwinkle, yes.
Okay, and I want to thank John Keller very much, who I always enjoy working with.
Okay.
It was a pleasure to work with. And we want to thank Mayor for bringing you here today.
All right.
Okay, so what's I have to assume at this point you're checking everything out. You're checking the budgets. You're seeing how things are working in the county. Are you going to come in with the roaring start? Are you going to kind of creep in there? And
Well, I think the biggest challenge when you're moving into a new position like this is finding talented and competent people to come and work with you. So we've begun the process of thinking about folks who might be willing to be public servants. Usually when people think of public service, they think, frankly, of their local municipality or maybe state government. And county government usually isn't on the radar screen. So we've begun to talk to people about the importance of county government. 2/3 of our budget, our county budget, goes to either health care or criminal justice, and those are important safety net social services. And we all, of course, want our criminal justice system to work as fairly as possible. So we've got an important mission in the county, and I've got to persuade good people that they should come and work there.
very good, and of course, good people definitely help the situation.
Right. I think one of the things that's happened in the county over time is that there hasn't been the professional, I'd sort of say development, but there hasn't been enough professionalization of county employees, and I think the county has suffered as a result. So we're going to try to bring, as I said, talented, competent professionals into the county.
Now, how much do you one of the things I've always thought about is do you have to deal individually? I mean, do you just deal with the board as a whole, or do you really have to deal individually with the sheriff and the state's attorney and all these things?
Well, the county government in our county anyway is a little odd. We have a president and we have 17 county commissioners, each of whom, of course, has a district, a part of the county. But in addition, we elect 11 other separately elected officials. I guess that's the way I want to say it. So, for example, we have a clerk of the court, we have a clerk, we have a sheriff, we have a state's attorney, we have a treasurer, we have a recorder of deeds, we have 3 members of the board of review. I mean, we have an extraordinary number of countywide elected officials, and some of them, frankly, have positions which in other counties would be part of the executive branch. They're really ministerial functions. What I usually say, for example, is why does it make sense to elect a recorder of deed? This is really a clerical function. In the city of Chicago, for example, we have our aldermen, but then we only elect 3 citywide officials. They are the mayor, the treasurer, and the clerk. But as I said, in the county, in addition to the 17 commissioners and the president, there are 11 other elected officials.
Never thought about it that way.
Well, it makes it harder for the chief executive to kind of move the ship.
Are there initial issues that you're going to be taking up right away?
Well, I think in any unit of government that you look at now, whether it's the state or the city or the county, the financial situation is just terrible, and it's a function, of course, of our terrible economy, the fact that people are out of work, that many people are facing foreclosure on their homes, and they're just not out spending money, so our sales tax revenues are down. The values of people's homes have gone down, and that has an impact, of course, on property taxes. So this is a really, really difficult time for government, just as it's a really difficult time for our families. And government, of course, the services of government are relied upon more in difficult times. So at the same time that you have more demand for services, you have less resources to provide them. So, for example, we have more people who need the services of our public health care system as they lose their jobs and their insurance.
That's very true. And of course, that you're the last stop. I mean,
Right.
you're the last hope for people.
That's right. The county system serves people whether they can pay or not. And our private and not-for-profit hospitals may do that to a small extent, but they're not providing care at the magnitude of the public system. Is 60% of the people who come to our hospital, for example, at Stroger, don't have any insurance, don't have Medicare, don't have, for our seniors, don't have Medicaid, for those who are very low income, have no insurance at all. So this is, that care for that population can't be absorbed by our not-for-profit and private hospitals.
It's a gaping hole.
Yeah. And actually, one of the difficulties is in the new healthcare system that President Obama and the Congress passed this year. The undocumented will be excluded from coverage in 2014, when most people will get coverage. So the healthcare system for the county, which has disproportionately covered those who don't have insurance, will then find itself in a position where it is the only source of care for the undocumented, and it'll have to compete with the not-for-profit and private hospitals and clinics for those who now have insurance. So it's going to be a very difficult transition for our public health care system.
That's scary.
Yeah, because now at least we get compensation for some people. We get compensation for people who are on Medicare, for senior citizens, or on Medicaid for very low income. And that's about 40%, or who have private insurance. But that still leaves, more than half of our patients who have no coverage at all. And when coverage is completely unavailable to the undocumented, and this is a region where we have a lot of undocumented individuals from all over the world, how is the county system going to cope with that?
Well, that's very difficult. As a matter of fact, I know on Tavani Avenue, there was an immigration sting earlier, about 8 or 9 years ago, and everybody thinks Mexicans in South America, but in this case, it was a whole different part of the world.
Right. No, you can't name a part of the world where we don't have undocumented immigrants in Chicago. You know what I mean?
Probably true.
We're going to have our and let me just say, for those of us who are blessed to have insurance of one kind or another, the idea that we're not going to cover certain parts of our population, is really. I can't. I understand that they had to make a compromise, and this was the way they got health care passed, but. What are we going to do? Not treat people who have tuberculosis because they're undocumented, or not treat people who have sexually transmitted diseases because they're undocumented? I mean, this is crazy,
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. Wow, that's I never think about the ins and outs or how these things work.
Well, since the February primary, we've had a lot of opportunity to kind of study this. We've put together policy teams on governance, health care, criminal justice, economic development, and our forest preserves. And those are the issues we're going to focus on walking in the door. So we know that we're going to have an issue in terms of recruiting talented people. We know we're going to have an issue in terms of a budget deficit. The question is how many hundreds of millions of dollars is going to be the gap. And then we have some tough substantive issues in our main mission, and that's healthcare and criminal justice. On the criminal justice side, we're spending an incredible amount of money to keep people in jail who are non-violent offenders. I'm not talking about the predators, the people who hurt and harm. I'm talking about non-violent offenders. And that can be anybody who's there for a drug offense or prostitution or shoplifting or whatever. It costs us almost $35,000, $40,000 a year to keep somebody in jail. It's $117 a day. And we need to look at alternatives. We should try, for example, for people who have not yet been tried and convicted, to look at what they call diversion programs. The sheriff has a program that has a couple hundred guys in it, which I think should have 10 times as many people. And what they do is treat people first for their substance abuse and then education and training. As long as you stay sober, you can continue on with the education and training. If you don't, you go back into the jail population. So there's a real incentive for people to stay clean. And when they were doing drug testing, they don't do it anymore. It's kind of a long story. But anyway, they were doing drug testing when they admitted people to the jail. 80 to 85% of the people failed the drug test. So addiction is a real problem for folks who are coming into our criminal justice system, whether they're there for a drug offense or not. So helping people with kind of turn their lives around, and then at the back end, sentencing people to drug treatment, to electronic monitoring. In other words, being at home with a bracelet or having a bracelet on and being allowed to go back and forth to work and otherwise be at home. Those kinds of things not only save money, but they allow people to maybe have a chance to turn their lives around. And we need to look at those diversion programs and alternate sentencing rather than simply adding to our jail population.
And I can't imagine that being in the jail there is really good or build a person in any kind of way.
No, the only thing you're going to learn in jail is to be a better criminal. So.
Yeah, or really fall in with the wrong crowd.
That's right.
I'm not looking to get you in trouble, and I don't usually ask this to guests on the air. I'm not asking you, don't worry. But I've always been very much in favor of seeing lots of drugs legalized because it would end a lot of these problems. But you know what? I'm not looking to get you in any trouble. You're not saying anything about that. But you know what? The idea of diverting people, I think that's an excellent program that Sheriff Dart started.
Yes. It's a very good program.
Yeah.
I think we need to put more resources into that kind of thing.
So you're looking at approximately there's about 10,000 people in the jail at any given time? Is that
well,
a correct
the population has been fluctuating between about 8,500 and 9,500. We tend to have more people in jail in the winter, partly because some people choose to be housed in the winter.
Really?
Yeah. If you're out on the street, if the weather is warm and nice, that's one thing. But when it gets to be 20 below, you don't want to be on the street.
Oh, interesting.
So, and the other thing is, we now are in a situation where, depending on which of our medical professionals you talk to, roughly a quarter to a third, so about 25 to maybe 30% of our jail population is people who are mentally ill. And we used to have institutions to serve the mentally ill, and then we decided we were going to deinstitutionalize people and have community care for them, but we never really provided the network of community care. And so now we've reinstitutionalized people who are mentally ill, except they're reinstitutionalized in the jails rather than in mental health facilities.
That doesn't sound too healthy. Actually, I worked in a halfway house for a year and a half when I was in college in Uptown. So I had a first-hand look, and right now, as a matter of fact, the house directly where I'm pointing is a group home. And the police are here all the time. And, there's got to be better. I understand why it's not a bad idea to try to get people in a normal environment and how it can benefit them. I just, think that people are really punting and not looking for answers to questions.
Well, I think that, if we're going to have group homes, they have to be for people, again, who are nonviolent offenders and who are not a danger to the communities that they're in. I think that's one thing we need to explore. But we need to, as I said, we need to look at a variety of alternatives to incarceration, because we're spending a lot of money and on detaining people, and the recidivism rates, people cycling in and out of the jail, are very, very high.
So you're talking $35,000 a year times 9,000 people.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and it's not doing the people there much good.
No. So that's, as I said, the county dollars principally go to healthcare and criminal justice. We're going to try to focus on economic development as well. The county really hasn't been a player in economic development. They haven't been part of the regional initiatives. Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, or Metropolitan Planning Council, or Metropolis 2020. They haven't really been at the table with those organizations to look at regional planning issues. We've got to do that. We've got to work with our local municipalities, the mayor's organizations like the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association, which I've talked to on several occasions. Have some ideas for economic development projects that they could move forward with a little help from the county. So the county, I think, has to not only be part of the regional planning initiatives, but has to work with local communities and associations of local communities on the economic development initiatives that they've already kind of vetted and just need additional resources to implement.
Very good. You've definitely, that's the interesting thing about the primary being so early, is you've basically got 9 months till this election.
Well, we've tried to use it to inform ourselves more about the county and the problems we're going to face walking in the door. As I said, our policy teams gave us a bit of a head start on that, and I hope for the support of your viewers and the opportunity to lead the county in December.
Very good, and I'm pretty sure you will have that. I can't imagine. Well, first of all, I will tell you, you are endorsed in Jewish Chicago.
Well, thank you.
Which is really easy, and I vote for you several times. They just don't let me.
Thank you. Once is enough.
That's for sure. I used to especially like to say that to people who are state's attorneys and judges.
Get us both in trouble.
In any event, though, law enforcement is a different problem, and because there's actually a police force. There's a Cook County Police.
Right. Actually, so the sheriff's office has three different functions. It has a police force for unincorporated parts of Cook County and for the forest preserves. Then it has bailiffs, the people who are in the courtrooms and who provide security in our courtrooms. And then there are the correctional officers who are in the jail. So they're kind of three parts to the sheriff's office. And the only part that's really been growing is the correctional officers. And this is a result of overcrowding in the jail and higher detention rates in the jail. And as a result, we've got, as I said, we've got a population that fluctuates from about 85 to 95, but that's still a lot of people.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Sheriff Dart once offered to give Sonny and I a tour of the jail, but he didn't say which side of the bars. So he never did quite take him up on it.
I've been to the jail. It's very sobering, very sobering.
Yeah, it's something. I can't imagine it's not. That would be interesting sometime. Maybe I'll bug him, during the next term.
There you go.
In any event, tell us about you got a website? I imagine you have to.
Well, we're asking people to give us a call if they're interested in the campaign. It's 773-924-5042, 773-924-5042. And ToniPreckwinkle.org is our web address.
And what are you looking for people to help? You have to make phone calls?
Well, here's what we're trying to do. This is a Democratic county, but in the last election in February, there were 800,000 fewer Democratic voters than in the presidential primaries in 2008. So we're trying to identify those folks, see what messages will persuade them to come to the polls, and then try to get them to come to the polls. I'm a history teacher, so I'm real committed to the electoral process. I believe that if you're going to be a good citizen, your first obligation is to vote in elections and to help elect good leaders. But that's not the beginning and the end of your responsibilities. It's just what I usually say, it's necessary but not sufficient. If you want to be a good citizen in a democracy, you not only have to vote, but you have to work for good people. You have to contribute your time and money to them, because that's what makes democracy strong, when ordinary people get involved in the political process.
No, very good. And by the way, I like the fact that you're a history teacher, because I always think that a number of lessons have already been taught, and it's very important to be aware of what people have done in the past. To do good when good was done, and to avoid bad when bad was done.
Right. Well, if you study history, you can at least try to avoid previous mistakes. You make new mistakes, of course, but you can avoid the most egregious mistakes that have been made by your predecessors. So.
Now, and there are some things I don't want to get you in any trouble, but there's definitely some things you need to step around.
Well, we're going to have a wholesale change in personnel in the top echelons of the county. There's no doubt about that. And I believed that even before the headlines of the last several weeks about wrongdoing. So.
Right, and that's something I think that we're all looking forward to.
Well, thank you.
And I want to wish you a lot of luck in the campaign, and look forward to you officially having the title of president of the Cook County Board.
Thank you.
And, I think it's going to be a very exciting time, and I want to wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you very much for having me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.